Warrior. Warrior, calm down. All right. Adelam, take a seat. Baba Kusha.
Take a seat. Sit down.
All right, Shalom, Israel, with an Israelite school, Universal Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yahada. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. So tonight's class is the Lashawan Qadash class. All right, tonight's class is the Lashawan Qadash class, the Hebrew class. A class that is very, very important for all blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans to attend. Like the Hebrew language. All right, the Hebrew language is the language of our forefathers. All right, the Hebrew language is the language that our forefathers spoke. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of our heritage. It's a part of the traditions that the Lord passed down to us. You understand? Like this is a part of the culture and the heritage and the traditions that the Lord gave to the nation of Israel, who are blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So we want to take this very, very serious when it comes to learning our language and learning how to speak it fluently. We wanted to take it as serious as we would take a heart attack. You understand? Meaning, take it as life or death. You understand? To learn the language of our forefathers and to learn the language that the Most High gave to us is life or death. Very, very important to understand. We may take learning this language lightly because we may think, well, it doesn't matter if I know this language. It matters if you know the language because this language is a part of our culture. Our entire records were once written in this language. So to understand the records that were written by the Israelites, which are our ancestors, we may just want to know how to speak that language. And that language is the Hebrew. Back in the Bible, right, in the scriptures, it came a time where if you did not know how to speak the Hebrew language, there was a brother, which was a priest named, which was a black man, and his name was Nehemiah in the Hebrew. And when he saw some Jews that did not know how to speak the language, that did not know how to speak Hebrew, he whooped their tails. You understand? He contended with them. He whooped you get the point, man. Like he fought them. You understand? Because it was a very serious thing to not know the language of your forefathers. It was a very, very serious thing not to know, all right, not to know the language that the Lord gave to us to speak. That's a very important thing. You understand? So now, before we start, does anybody have any questions before we start? All right, before we start class, does anybody have any questions? So tonight's class, we're going over we'll be going over the 100 most common verbs. All right. We'll get started in a few. Also, don't forget to check in and sign in class too as well. Don't forget to sign in and check in. All right. Do not forget to sign in and check in. All right. Let's see. Get that taken care of. All right. Everybody can see the board. That's perfect. All right. All right. Let's get it. If you guys have any questions, just put it into the live chat. All right. We're going to go ahead and get into it. Okay, so once again, we're going to be going over the most 100 most common verbs. So this is also a PDF document as well, that if anybody wants it too, I can send it out. I've done it in the past. So if anybody wants these documents, if anybody wants these files, I can send these files out so you guys can also do studying on your own time. But it's alright if y'all don't. Alright? Alright, it's alright if y'all if you guys may have already have it. If you don't have it, I truly recommend that you get this document under your repertoire, because it's very important to learn the Hebrew language, all right? So now, the reason why we want to go over verbs. What's important about verbs? Well, the reason why verbs are so important, because a verb is an action word, meaning this word does something. It's an action, meaning something's being done when using this word. Like, for instance, running. Well, to run is a verb because that's an action. You're doing something. Learning, studying, reading, like to read, to learn. Like, these can be verbs. These are action words because there's something being done. So the reason why we want to learn verbs within the Lashawan Qadash, and the reason why we want to focus on how to use these verbs, because the more verbs you know, the more you can speak this language fluently. Right? We want to know as many verbs as we can. Just like you want to learn as many nouns as you can as well. But that comes over time. But to structure sentences and to work on accommodating, to learn how to structure sentences properly, you want to learn as many verbs as you can, because these are actions. You're always going to have a verb in a sentence. You're always going to have some form of verb when you speak. Like, there's always going to be a verb. Like, when you're structuring sentences, there are things that you're going to have. You're going to have an object. You're going to have a verb. You're going to have a noun. Why? Because these are very important things that structure the sentence. Like, these are the things that consist of structuring sentences correctly. But now, we're going to get as many verbs as we can to learn this, all right? Okay, no sweat. If you want this, put your if you guys want, Salaki, if you guys want the list, put your email into the live chat, and then I'll email you the list as soon as possible. All right. If you guys do want if you guys want that verb list, all right, the 100 most common verb list, put your email into the live chat, and I'll give it to you guys immediately. All right. I'll give it to you guys ASAP. All right. All right. Here we go. All right. So the first word that we have, right? The first word we have is abad. So the first word that we have is abad. All right, abad, meaning to perish. Anybody know what it means to perish? All right. Does anybody know what it means to perish? Meaning to become destroyed or ruined, cease to exist, to perish, to cause to die, destroy, weaken. When something is perishing, meaning it's being destroyed, it's being ruined, right? When something is being perished, meaning something is being ruined, something is being destroyed, right? Maybe even being caused to die. Like when someone says I'm perishing, meaning something's being destroyed, something's being done away with in some way and somehow. So you would use the word abad when you're trying to explain something that's being perished. All right. So this is called abad. So this is ya'ah. All right. This is ya'ah in the Lashawan Qadash. In the Hebrew language, this is the Paleo, and then on the left right here, this is the Assyrian script. You're mostly going to see this. All right. You're mostly going to see this. But you're not always going to see this. This is more so like the ancient writing, right? This is more so the ancient writing of things, all right? So this is your ah, and this is your ba, and this is your da. So this is what your ah looks like. This is what your ba looks. This is what your ba looks like, and this is what your da looks like. You put it together, it's abad, abad. Same here. This is your ah in the Assyrian. This is your ba in the Assyrian, and this is your da in the Assyrian, and it's pronounced abad, abad, abad. In our language, we always had a constant sound. For an example, our language had a ah sound, so our letters sounded like ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, cha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, tza, kwa, ra, sha, and tha. Right? Our language had a constant sound to it. So when we spoke this language, this is how it sounded. Alright? So abad, abad, abad. So remember, these letters and these words are going to sound similar because because the sound, which is a constant, it's called a constant, it has a constant sound, meaning they sound similar. They sound the same. But this is your ah, this is your ba, this is your da. Put it together, it's abad. Abad, meaning to perish. So that's the first verb, abad, meaning to perish. Alright, abad, meaning to perish. Right. Right, meaning to perish, meaning to somewhat to die. Correct, Doc. Okay, so it can be written in two different ways. Okay, it's not that it could be written in two different ways. Well, okay, yes, it can be written in two different ways. This is the ancient way. This is the Assyrian way. The only reason, this was how it was first written. But because of our captivity, specifically because of the Assyrian captivity, we started writing our letters like this. This is because of our captivity where we started writing our letters like this. But before our captivity, we wrote our language like this. Alright? Are we reading from left to right? Okay, we're reading from right to left. So Hebrew is from right to left. So right to left. Everything is done from the right side. Alright, so when we're reading this language, it's from right to left. Right to left. Right to left. Alright, right to left. Alright, right to left. Alright, let's get the next verb out here. So abad is to perish. Alright, abad is to perish. The more verbs that you know, the better you'll get at learning the language as well. Alright, because when you're also reading it, you're going to have more of an understanding of it too, because you're going to be like, oh, I know that word. And the more you start coming to these classes, everything's going to make sense too. The reason why we want to learn as many verbs as we can is because you want to be able to know what the verb looks like. Like the verb that I just had up here. You want to know the original form of what it looks like. Because once we get into conjugating verbs again, and start getting into the advanced structuring of sentences, I want you guys to understand, hey, these are the same verbs, but they're conjugated. And you want to look for the root word so you know what's being said. And you want to be able to hear the root word so you know what's being said. Like, it's very important in the Hebrew language when we're speaking it and we're writing it and things like that. And when we're hearing it or listening to it, because we want to get used to hearing these things. Like if I say abad, now you guys know, oh, he's saying to perish. But if I say something like awabad, if I say something like awabadium, you're going to be like, well, that sounds like he said perish. But what in the hell is he trying to say? Does that kind of make sense to you guys now? Like abad meaning to perish. But if I say awabadium, you guys like, oh, snap. That I heard the verb abad there, but he's not saying abad. What is this awabadium that he's talking about? Well, that comes with conjugating it. And so I want you guys to get used to what the verb looks like and what the word looks like before we get back into conjugations and before we get into advanced sentence structuring and things like that. All right? So we're reading from right to left. All right? Reading from right to left. All right? Let's get the next one on the board. The next one we have on the board is aha. So what we have on the board now is aha. All right, aha. So this is your ah. Remember, we're reading from right to left. So from right to left, right to left, right to left. Now this is written in the English form. All right. Well, actually, I just cut a corner there. Salaki, I don't mean to cut corners while teaching class. I don't like that. Salaki, I didn't mean to cut that corner. All right. Oh yeah, no sweat, Agwaf. It takes time. That's real Tawab. Keep coming to class too. It's very Tawab because this is where you learn the truth. I don't know if you was in here in the beginning of class, but I said it's very, very important to learn this language. Like this is the language of our forefathers. Like this is the language that the Lord passed down to his people, which were so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which are the Israelites according to the Bible. And it was so important in the Bible to know this language. Like there was a priest and prophet of the Lord. His name was Nehemiah, Nehemiah in the Hebrew. And he saw some Jews that were born of interracial marriage. Now, of course, he was angry at the fact that these Jews were born after interracial marriage because it's against our law to marry outside of our nation, right? It's against our law to marry outside, all right, to marry heathens, people, different people that are outside of the nation of Israel, which is so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Americans. But the prophet Nehemiah, the priest Nehemiah, he saw these Jews not also being able to speak the Hebrew language. And he fought them, contended with them, and pulled the hair out of his heads, out of their heads, and almost to the break of death, because they did not know how to speak this language. They did not know how to speak the language of their ancestors. And there's a spirit behind that. Because this is how you know who you are. This is how these are the small things that can help people tell the difference from you and other people. You understand? Like skin color alone does not make you the nation that you're from. Does everybody understand that? There's a difference. Like there are certain small characteristics that when people look at you and study you, there are small differences that that helps them being able to tell, hey, this man must be this, or this woman must be that. One of these small things is our language. You know a people based off of the language that they speak. You understand? This matters. You understand? Like, you know a Chinese person, not just how they look, but also because they're speaking Mandarin and they're speaking the Chinese language. And let me tell you something, if you're Chinese and you don't know how to speak the Mandarin language or the Chinese language, you are damn near not considered to be Chinese. They look at you as if you're an outsider because you do not know the language that has been passed down from generation to generation. It's almost like you're in America and you don't know who the founding fathers are. Everyone knows, if you're from America, everyone has to know who the founding fathers of America are. You at least have to know 2 out of the 4. If you don't even know 2 out of the 4, you might as well not call yourself an American. You understand? It's almost like it's similar to that. Of course, in the Isupk, we don't really care if you know the forefathers or not, because that's not our culture. But this is. This is a part of our culture that we need to know. We have to know this. These are things that we have to know. It's a part of our culture. Because if you do not know this, you will be looked out. You'll be looked as an outsider. Like, how are you going to be an Israelite, but you don't know how to speak the language of the Israelites? How are you going to be a Jew, but you do not speak the language of the Jews? It does not make any sense. All of our records are written in this language. It was written in this on stone tablets. It was written in this. It was written in this on papyrus. It was written like this on papyrus and on paper, and so many other documents found. You understand? This was found, I believe this was the writing that was found on the Dead Sea Scrolls. You understand? Like, this is a part of our culture. This is the language of our forefathers. Before we spoke English, before we spoke French, before we spoke Spanish, before we spoke Creole, this was our language. All right? So to go back, this is the verb ahab. Right? This is the verb ahab. This is the letter ah. This is your ha, and this is your ba. You put it together, it's ahab. This is the ah in the Assyrian. This is your ha in the Assyrian, and this is your ba in the Assyrian. You put it together, see aha and the ba, ahab, meaning to love. All right, ahab meaning to love. All right. So to love something, if you want to say, I love this or I love that, ahab. All right, you would say ahab. Right? Okay? This is what the root word of ahab looks like. This is what the root word of ahab looks like. This is what the root word of ahab looks like. We want to focus on visualizing and memorizing what these look like and what these sound like. You have ahab. You have ahab. This is what it looks like. This is what it sounds like. Ahab. 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 Why am I continuing to say ahab? Ahab. The reason why is because repetition is everything. This is how you learn the language. And also remember, you can't just come to class Friday and expect to know the language. You also have to do studying on your own time. So take notes. Write this down. Ahab. The Lord says in the Bible, rehearse the righteous acts. These are righteous acts. It is a righteous act to know the language that the Most High allowed us to keep. You understand that the Most High separated the languages on the earth, right? But we were able to keep the one that the Lord wanted us to keep. You get that? That's something that we have to understand. This was the language that the Lord allowed His people to keep. This is the language, ahab, right here. We might want to ahab this. You understand? Ahab, meaning to love. Ahab. All right? Ahab, meaning to love. Aha. All right, let's get the next one. Ahab, meaning to love. Ahab. Conword. The next one we're going to get is Ayab. Okay. All right. So now what we have on the board now is Ayab. Ayab. All right. Ayab meaning hostile. Anybody know what hostile means? Does anybody know what hostile means? Anybody? Anybody can just tell me too as well. Anybody know what it means to be hostile? All right. Being hostile. Meaning being like an enemy to somebody, right? Offensive in a way, right? Being an enemy to someone. If I'm saying you're hostile or you're being hostile, that is a verb letting you know that you are being an enemy. You are something that is against me, right? Being hostile. So ayab, when you're using the word ayab, is letting you know that there's someone that's being an enemy, right? It could be something like showing anger or some form of hatred because this person is 9 times out of 10 is like as being an enemy. This person is an enemy or acting as if he or she is an enemy. What are characteristics of an enemy? Someone that's trying to kill you, harm you, hurt you, trying to inflict some form of damage on you on purpose. That's roughly the definition of an enemy. The opposite side of you. You know what I'm saying? So this word ayab meaning to be hostile. Ayab, this is your ah, this is your ya, this is your ba, and it's ayab. This is your ah, this is your ya, this is your ba, which is ayab. Alright, ayab. Right here, ayab, meaning to be hostile. Ayab. Right, the children to learn young. No sweat, no sweat. Yes, it's very, very important for our children to learn this too as well. Like if you have children, this is something that you teach them. Like you want to teach your children, you want to teach our children, this is our culture. This is a part of our language. You want to, as much as you learn, you want to speak these things in front of your children too as well, so they can catch on. So the older that they get, the more fluent they become. You understand? All right. This is very important for the children. So you're absolutely right. So this is the word ayab. Ayab, meaning to be hostile. Ayab. Ayab. All right. Ayab, meaning to be hostile. Remember, we want to learn as many verbs as possible because this is what's going to help us learn this language. This is what's going to help us, all right, structure sentences in the future. Eventually, we're going to go back into verb conjugations, all right? I always go over the similar topics because these are the topics that are going to help us in the future when it comes to learning this language properly. And so, verbs are the verbs in a sentence are very, very important to know. Why? Because you need a verb to structure a sentence. And the more verbs you know, the more sentences you can create. Like now you know to be hostile. Right? Now you know what it means to perish. Now you know what it means to love. Like we use these words on the daily basis. You know, of course, we're not. Now, of course, I don't know about you guys, but you know, I'm not usually using the word perish a lot. Be like, oh my God, I'm going to perish. No. But the word perish has different meanings depending on the context, and you can use abad, okay? All right? Or aha, meaning love. We use love a lot. We use love so much, it's almost never going to go out of style. Now, of course, you will learn what the true definition of love is according to the Bible if you stay in class. But if you want to say I love someone or I love my children, these are sentences that you can structure by knowing these verbs, like ahav, meaning to love. Then you have more so words like, once again, ayab, meaning hostile, that we just went over. Ayab, being hostile. Now, if you think someone's being hostile to you, you can be like, hey man, you kind of ayab right now, meaning you being a little hostile. What's going on? You out here trying to be my enemy. What's going on? I thought we were friends. You know what I'm saying? These are things that can help us learn this language fully. So now we're going to get the next one. All right? All right. Okay, shalom, shalom. See y'all checking in. Let's get the next one. Now we have the verb akal. All right, akal. Akal. Akal meaning to eat. Akal meaning to eat.
Yes.
Of course, you want to eat, warrior, no sweat. Akal meaning to eat. So this is your ah. This is your ah in the Syrian. This is your ka. I mean, not in the Syrian. This is your ah in the Paleo. This is your ka in the Paleo. This is your la in the Paleo. Then this is your ah in the Assyrian. This is your ka in the Assyrian. And this is what your la looks like in the Assyrian. Now when you put that together, it's pronounced akal. Akal meaning to eat. Now remember, we use the word eat all the time, right? We can use that spiritually. We can use that literally. Like we use akal a lot, right? Like akal lacham, eat bread. Lacham is bread in the Hebrew. So akal meaning to eat. This is something that we do. We do this a lot. Now we know the verb akal means to eat, meaning to consume something, to eat something. So akal. You will see this word a lot when you're reading Leviticus chapter 23, Leviticus chapter 23 in the Bible. It uses the word akal a lot because Leviticus 23 talks about the Lord's high holy days. And it's talking about the things that we're cooking and making and eating. So you're going to see this word akal a lot throughout the scriptures. Because it's Israelite culture to always cook and eat. Or to do something involving the two, all right? All right. So a cow. All right. A cow. A cow meaning to eat. A cow. A cow. A cow meaning to eat. All right. This is what a cow looks like. This is what a cow sounds like. This is what a cow looks like. This is what a cow sounds like. So now, when we get into the, this is the basics. But once we start getting into the more advanced lessons of sentence structure, now when I say a cow, you want to know what a cow looks like and what a cow sounds like, because this is the root. This is where it comes from. This is the root of this word. Because once we start getting into verb conjugations, these things are going to change up a little. Little words, little letters are going to be added to this word to conjugate this word. Like for an example, our cow. Right? Our cow, meaning to eat. Our kalyum, meaning our call, meaning I'm eating. Our kalyum, meaning we are eating. Like things like that. Like you want to make sure you know what these sound like and what they look like, because it's going to help you later on when we get into the advanced lessons. Because remember, think about it this way. You conjugate verbs in every language. For an example, run is a verb, right, in the English. Run is a verb in the English. Running is a conjugation of the verb run. How do we conjugate it? Conjugate meaning to change, meaning the form of something changes. That's what conjugation means in a nutshell. So when you conjugate the verb run to running, because that's the conjugation of run, the present tense conjugation of run. How do we change that verb to running? We added a ing at the end of it. So now we know that this still is the verb run, but in the present tense, meaning I'm running. Right? I ran. That's conjugation in the past tense. I ran. Right? I ran is letting you know this is in the past tense. I ran. R-A-N. That A gets substituted for the U. Now I know this is the same verb run. It sounds the same. Run, ran. Oh my God, I can hear the verb, but it just sounds a little different. Now that's just one example in the English language. Well, thank God in Hebrew, there's not the sounding of the words do not change up like that completely. This is a cow, but our cow, meaning I'm eating. Our kalyum, meaning we are eating. Right? Our cow, it's like a a cow, meaning I will eat. You understand? A kal taya, meaning I ate. Like these are examples of the verb akal being conjugated in the future, in past, and present tense. Our kal, that's the present tense. Akal taya, that's the past tense. Da akal, that's the future tense. All I did was our kal, I'm eating. Akal taya, I ate. Tha akal, meaning I will eat. There you go. You see that? But it sounds the same, right? You can hear the root word, akal, in those words. You guys kind of get where I'm coming from now? Let me know, yes or no. Of course, I'll move on to the next word. But you guys kind of get the point of how useful it is to understand and know what it looks like and what it sounds like for the future. Most High in Christ. All right. Next that we have on the board, Most High in Christ. Shalom, understand. No sweat, no sweat. Most High in Christ. Okay, so now the next word we have on the board is Amar. All right, Amar. All right, this is your I in the paleo. This is your Ma in the paleo. This is what your Ra looks like in the paleo. It's pronounced Amar. All right, Amar. All right, Amar. All right, this is your Ah, this is your Ma, and this is your Ra. You put it together, it's Amar. If I'm not mistaken, that don't quote me, but I believe Omar is the Yiddish or whatever way to say Amar, by the way. All right. I don't know if anyone ever knew a Omar, but if I'm not mistaken, this is where it comes from. All right. That, because our language, because of the Jewish man, because of our oppressor, our language have vowels in it now. All right. And because of so, I believe this I became a O because of that vowel, disgusting, the cood, whatever. And because of so, this became a O. And then they still kept the M, the M-A, and the R. And it's pronounced Omar. I believe that's in the Bible. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I'll go ahead. Just for teaching purposes, I believe I can find that in Genesis chapter 36, verse 11. Let me see. I'm going to get it for y'all real quick. Hold on, because I want to make sure what I'm saying is correct. Because I remember reading it one time, and I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Right, there we go. Right, it does, but it'll have a Y. It'll have a Y right here, and then that Y, in that I, it's weird. It's weird. But yeah, this is the word. That's where the Omar joint. I don't know if you ever knew a brother named Omar. Growing up, I had an uncle Omar because he was a 5% and he was a Muslim. But whatever, whatever the case may be. But Amar meaning to say. All right, Amar meaning to say. So this is your I, your Ma, and your Ra. Your I, your Ma, and your Ra. You put it together, it's Amar. 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 Now another thing too. And this is something I probably didn't explain, and I'm going to explain it now. When reading it, right? When you're reading the Hebrew, you see how this says Amar. The reason why it says Amar, because in most cases, that last letter, which is the Ra, that Ah sounds get cut off. All right? The Ah sound gets cut off. So even though it's a Ah and a Ma and a Ra, right? When that Ah gets taken off, it's pronounced Amar. It's not pronounced Amara, it's pronounced Amar. All right? In some cases, that is what you will do. And that's what you will say, Amar. Right? You'll never rarely say Amara unless that's a different word. All right? Unless that's a different word. All right, but you will know and you'll be able to tell the difference of what word is being used depending on the context. So Amar meaning to say or to speak, right? To say something, right? So if you want to say I said, or I say this, I said this, I will say this, you would use the word Amar, right? Amar. If I wanted to say I'm saying something, right? Or I said something, let's say I'm saying something. This is what I'm saying right now. I would say Awamar. You see how you still heard Amar? Awamar. If I said something, I would say Awamar. I mean, it's like not Awamar. Amar Taya. Amar Taya. Meaning I said. Right? If I want to say I will say something, I would say Ta Amar. So you have Awamar, Amar Taya, and you have Ta Amar. Like these are just examples of how the verb would be conjugated. But this is Amar. This is pronounced amar, meaning to say. Amar, meaning to say. All right. This list is going to be in alphabetical order. All right, alphabetical order, Salaki. All right, amar, meaning to say. If you guys have any questions too as well, you can put into the live chat. Don't be afraid to ask. All right. All right. So now we have the word asap. 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 So this is your ah. This is your ah in the paleo. This is your sa in the paleo. And this is your pa in the paleo. This is your ah in the Assyrian. This is your sa in the Assyrian. And this is your pa in the Assyrian. All right, which is asap. You put together asap. 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 Meaning to gather. All right, asap. Asap. All right, meaning to gather. Everybody knows what it means to gather, right? Like you're gathering something up, or you're telling people to gather among you. Like we need to gather ourselves together. All right. Now, to gather ourselves together. So when you read that scripture, to gather ourselves together, if I'm not mistaken, there's an actual word, a different word that's being used there. All right. Meaning to gather together. Like it literally means to gather together, referring to a people. All right. So, let me see. Yeah, Qadash. Okay, you said on the Salakia, sir, on the chart the pa character is split. Let me see. Okay, let me see. Let me double check. I can double check that. Let me see. So you said it's flipped. So you're saying that it's flipped, as in what? What do you mean flipped? Alright, let me see. I'm going to go ahead and look at the chart. Alright, so you guys can see what I can see now, right? Let me see. I want y'all to make sure y'all see what I see. So the brother asked a good question. Like so in the chart, the pi character is flipped. Okay, so when looking at that chart, let's see. So you're talking about this chart right here, right? Okay, the reason why it's flipped, you probably may not, is because it's not reading from it. The way it's set up because of how the camera was, correct? It's because of it's not reading it from right to left. It's reading as if it's left to right. That's why it looks flipped. Make sense? Does that answer your question, brother? So it may look like it's flipped, but that's because it's not written from right to left. It's written from left to right. It looks like as if it's written from left to right and not right to left. Make sense? So it will look like that if it's written from right to left. From right to left. But if I was writing it from left to right, then it would be flipped. But we're supposed to be writing from right to left. All right. Was I able to answer your question? Alright, so I put that on the screen. And the reason why I put that specific chart on the screen too as well, to show you what you were talking about too, brother. So to look it up too as well. Alright. The reason why it looks like that is because this photo to your left, that photo to the left of the screen, it's okay. What it is that some people, all right, depending on the camera too, but some people, the problem that occurs is that they try to mimic what we do. Now this is not an original photo, all right? This is not an original photo of how the chart is written, okay? This is not an original photo, all right? This is not an original photo, okay? That's why, all right, I'll put the original photo on in a bit, all right? But that's not an original photo. The original photo would be written from right to left, all right? All right, it will be written from right to left. All right. Answer your question. So this is Isupk, meaning to gather. All right, Isupk meaning to gather. All right, Isupk meaning to gather. Let's get the next one on the board. So Isupk meaning to gather. So if you want to say to gather something, like how about we gather over here, or gather those grapes, or gather those people, or gather something up, you would use asap. Asap. The verb asap, meaning to gather. Asap. Alright. Asap, meaning to gather. Alright. Asap, meaning to gather. Alright, let's get the next one. Alright. So what we have on the board now is bawa'a. Bawa'a, meaning to come. Bawa'a. So this is your ba, this is your wa, this is your a in the paleo, this is your ba, this is your wa, and then this is your a in the Assyrian. You put that together, it's bawa'a. 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 Alright, bawa'a. Alright, meaning to come. Bawa'a, like as in to come here, come over here, come over there, things like that is pronounced bawa'a. So if you want to tell someone to come here, you can say bawa'a, meaning to come. Or in some cases, you'll see this. Depending, alright, that wa doesn't necessarily have to be there, but there's another word called ba'a. Alright. So the verb bawa'a is to come, but also ba'a meaning come here. So, alright. Does that make sense to everybody? So bawa'a is the main verb that you would use when you're trying to structure a sentence. But if you just wanted to say come, you can just say ba'a. Alright, which is me. Alright, so ba'a. Alright, so this is bawa'a. Bawa'a meaning to come. Bawa'a. You can also say ba'a meaning come. But now when we're structuring sentences, alright, when we're conjugating verbs, it's a little different. When we start conjugating verbs, it's a little different, alright? Because you don't want to take away that wa. So I have to keep that there. Alright, and it'll be bawa'a, meaning to come. Alright, bawa'a. Bawa'a. Alright, bawa'a. Do you guys have any questions? Put it into the chat. Next we have to choose. All right, now you have the verb to choose. All right, to choose. All right, now you have the verb to choose, which is bakar. Right, the verb to choose, meaning bakar, to choose. All right, bakar. So this is your ba, this is your cha, and then this is your ra. All right, this is your ba, this is your cha, and this is your ra. But in the Assyrian, when you put that together, it's pronounced bakar. All right, bakar, meaning to choose. So if you wanted to choose something, and if you want to say I choose this or I chose this, all right, you would use the word bakar. You would use the word bakar. Bakar. All right. Even if you wanted to use the word chosen, right? This is the word that's being used in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. Bakar. Bakar. Now this right here is your cha. You see this letter right here? Let's focus on this letter real quick. This is the letter cha. This is the letter cha, but in the Syrian, this is the letter cha. All right? In the Paleo. I do not want anyone. If you have attended my class before, you know that this is a sin. When you say ka instead of ka. All right? I want everybody to know that right now. When you are in this class, all right, specifically the class of your Lashawan, if I'm teaching, all right, every brother may be a little different and a little more lenient. I'm not lenient, all right, when it comes to this ka. Salaki, see, I almost messed up because I hate it so much. I really do. I hate it. So ka is pronounced ka, all right, ka. So you want to get used to saying ka. I want you guys to practice this at home too. I want you guys to look in the mirror and I want you guys to say cha. Get used to saying. I want you to like practice as if you're trying to cough up a loogie or something. Like you want to go katui, whatever the case may be. It's like you're trying to scratch your throat, like something like that. This is how that sounds. It's cha. Before you say the ah, it's cha, 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 cha. Everybody kind of get it? It's not ka, it's cha. So when you say bakar, it's bakar and not bakar. It's bakar. It's not bakar, it's bakar. Bakar, bakar. All right? Bakar meaning to choose. Bakar. All right? Bakar. Bakar. Cha, cha. They used to do that cha, cha, cha. That's all I did. All right? My kids thought I was crazy. They're like, why is dad just randomly saying ha, ha, ha? They thought I was a broken record. That's because I wanted to get down pat how to say the letter ha. Because I wanted to use the word bakar. 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 These are part of the 100 most common verbs. All right? We're going to probably be going over this for the next 2 to 3 weeks. All right? Because it's a lot to learn, it's a lot to know. I say 4 weeks at max, 3 weeks. All right? For a good timing, 2 weeks. All right? 2 weeks if possible. But nothing less. All right? Nothing less than that because there's a lot of verbs. We got 100 verbs to go over. Bakar. We're going to go over every last one. Bakar. Bakar, meaning to choose. Bakar. All right? Bakar, meaning to choose. All right? Bakar, meaning to choose. Next we're gonna get is bayan. Bayan. Bayan, right? Bayan, meaning to understand. Right? Bayan, meaning to understand. Bayan, bayan, all right? Bayan, right? Bayan, meaning to understand. All right? This is your ba, this is your ya, this is your na in the paleo. This is your ba, this is your ya, this is your na in the Assyrian. You put it together, bayan. Bayan means to understand. So if you want to say I understand something, or you understand this, or you understand that, or we understand this, the word that's going to be used is bayan. Now, of course, there's going to be conjugations with that bayan, but the root word is bayan. This is the root. This is what it looks like. This is what bayan looks like and sounds like. This is what bayan looks like and sounds like. Bayan. Bayan. So even if I wanted to say bawayan, you can still hear the bayan. If I still want to say bawayan, bayan daya, right? It still sounds like bayan. If I want to say bawayanyum, you can still hear bayan. If I want to say ta bayan, you guys can still hear the bayan. If I want to say bayan ta, you guys can still hear the bayan. You understand? All right. If I want to say, right, bawayan daya yaka, all right, bawayan dayaka is still bayan. All right. What did I just say? I said bayan dayaka. Bayan dayaka. All I said was bayan dayaka. All I said was I understood you. That's all I said. It's not complicated once we start to learn it. But when I said bayan is the root word. If I put a taya at the end of it, that's making it in the past tense, meaning I understood. All right. So bayan taya is saying I understood. But if I also add a ka at the end of that ka means you. So if I say bayan taya ka, I'm saying I understood you. That's one whole sentence, but it sounds like one word. But that's one word put together. Bayan taya ka. I understood you. That's a sentence in the Hebrew, right? So if you want to say bayan tayaka, all right, I'll say it one more time if you guys want to say it too as well. All right, I understood you. Or you can say, all right, or I'll teach you how to say I understand you too. All right, I understood you. You can say bayan tayaka, bayan tayaka, bayan tayaka, bayan tayaka. Bayan dayaka. Bayan dayaka. Meaning I understood you. Alright? If you want to say I understand you, bawayan ka. Bawayan ka. Bawayan ka. Meaning I understand you. Bawayan ka. That ka at the end of those words meaning you. Alright? Bawayan ka. Alright? Now I'm not going to write it on the board because that's not what this lesson is about. All right, so Salaki in advance. Hopefully that makes you come to these classes because that word will be on the board one day. All right, that whole entire phrase will be on the board one day. I guarantee you that phrase will be on the board one day. So if I ask anyone in class, how do I say I understand you? All right. I understand you or I understood you, all right? I know for sure you guys are going to know the answer to that, all right? All right? But this is the word bayan, meaning to understand. This is the root word, bayan. So if you want to, now, for your sake, all right, I usually don't teach this, all right, because I'm a stickler when it comes to the Lashawan Qadash. If you want to say bayan to someone, like let's say you talk to me and you want to talk to me in Hebrew, you want to say, I understand, and you want to say, I bayan. Because I know Hebrew, I know what you're trying to say. All right, I know what you're trying to say to understand. All right, I get it. Or you can even say, I even know that you meant I understood, or whatever the case may be, because you used the word bayan. The only thing, but because I'm a stickler, it's going to bother me because you didn't conjugate it. But I still understand you because words don't. Sometimes these words are not always conjugated. All right. But it still means to understand. Does everybody understand that? Is everybody bayan? You see how I just did that? Is everybody bayan? Does everybody bayan mean? Does everybody understand? You can still just say bayan if you want to. For practice purposes and to get to understand and learn the language. Alright? Bayan, meaning to understand. Right? Bayan, meaning to understand. So if you guys want to, also, I may add, use these words on your everyday basis. Like, this is what I did to memorize the majority of these words. I would say them to myself. I would say one word a day and memorize it. Right? Like, I would always be like, bayan, 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 I bayan, 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 you bayan, bayan. As in, so I can get used to saying, understand. So if I want to answer someone, I'd be like, bayan. I'm saying I understand. So I can get used to knowing that the word bayan means to understand. Is everybody kind of bayan? You see how I'm using it all the time? Bayan, bayan, bayan. Because this is what's going to help everybody speak this language. The more we use these words with each other, the better we get. Why? Because you just can't read a language. All right? You can't just read a language and study a language and expect to be fluent. You have to be able to speak it with someone. You're going to have to be able to hear it, like in music or in conversations, so you can get used to what's being said. So you can get used to the accents and the dialects and things like that. You know, I might say bayan differently than another brother in the school might say bayan. But because of our accents and because of our dialects, we're saying the same word, but just differently. So it's important for us to learn how to say this to each other. Like, say these words to each other. Do not be afraid to speak Hebrew to another brother or to another sister. All right? Even if you may think that they may not know the word, that's fine. Because it's good that they may not know the word. Because now they get to know the word. That's brotherhood. Now they know. Now that brother knows. Now that sister knows bayan means to understand. So now when I say bayan or you say bayan, now everyone knows, hey, that means understand. Oh my God, I almost know a language. Cool, that's great. That's what's up. You understand? That's brotherhood. That's sisterhood. You understand? We got to learn from each other here. This is new to me just as much as new to y'all. So we get to learn from each other. This is a part of building the kingdom of heaven. This is a part of building a nation up. This is what these, even though this might seem small, this is a very, very important thing because Christ spoke this language. The Most High speaks Hebrew. The Most High throughout the scriptures talks about how important it is to speak Hebrew. You understand? Like the Lord says that, you know, even when you start, Salaki, that's why we say our prayers in Hebrew. Because it's very important to know the Hebrew language according to the Lord. So this may seem small, but it's very important. So we got to learn from each other here. How do we learn from each other? Let's speak to each other in Hebrew. All right? Most High in Christ. Babayanka, the water. Ayandabar. Ayanaba. Alright. Bawayan. Bawayanka. Alright. Bawayan. Bawayanka. I like that. Let's get the next verb. I like that. Most on Christ. Alright. Kapataza. Meaning to like. Kapataza. Kapataza. Salaki. Before I say that, let me double check that.
It's a gun? Yeah, I can.
That's not in the. Okay. So I said, I don't know if you guys heard what I said, but I just used the word chapataza. Alright? If you guys don't know, the word chapataza is not in the 100 most common verbs list. But chapataza means to like. Alright? Chapataza. A cha, a pa, and a taza. Chapataza. Meaning to like. Alright? Now, these are just the 100 most common verbs. Why? Because these are the verbs that are mostly going to be used. If you know 100 verbs, put it this way. These are the 100 most common verbs that are going to be used in your everyday language. So, with that being said, what does that mean? Once you understand and learn all of these verbs, you have 100 words or 100 verbs that can be used and structured into a sentence. Right? Because these are the verbs that are going to be mostly used, commonly used. Alright? There are other words and verbs in Hebrew. Alright? There are other words and verbs in Hebrew. But these are the ones that are going to be mostly said and commonly spoken. Does that make sense to everybody? Alright? Like, there's more than one way to say perish. There's more than one way to say, well, not so much to love. There's more than one way to say, what's a good one? The one that we just went over. The ones we went over, there's really not other ways to say that. So I can't use those as an example. But, I can only use ones that we haven't went over yet that's in the list, but I don't want to confuse you guys and just throw random words out there because I don't want to confuse you. You know what? Salaki, if I could. The next. Oh, actually, perfect. Actually, you know what? Salaki. There is one. Alright? The one that we just used. Salaki. I don't know why that skipped over my head. Bayan. Bayan is to understand, right? There's more than one way to say to understand in the Hebrew. Alright? Does that make sense? Like in English, to understand, right? In English, you can say understand. What's another way in English to say understand? I comprehend. Does that make sense to everybody? Are you guys kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about? These are the most commonly words being used. It is commonly being used. The word understand in English is commonly used. Alright? A lot of people say I understand. No, it's rarely that you meet someone that says I comprehend. Wouldn't that kind of throw you off a little? It's like, why did that brother just say I comprehend? He's a weirdo. Why did he just say that? Well, I comprehend you, Ak. Okay, why did you say I understand you? You guys kind of get what I'm getting at, right? They mean the same thing. They're similar, but most commonly used, understand is going to be mostly commonly used instead of comprehend. All right, or I feel you. All right, okay, I feel you is more so spiritual. But yes, that's a good example. I feel you, right? Not every, well, a lot of brothers, depending if they up north, all right, we say I feel you, all right? But that's more so like that's part of black culture though. So I don't want to really use that, but that is a good example. Something like that. I feel you, all right? Everyone, I feel you. Not everyone uses I understand. Not everyone uses I understand, but not everyone may use I feel you or I comprehend you. Things like that. Like not everyone's going to say that. If I say I feel you, you're probably going to be like, what do you mean you feel me? That's weird. Why didn't you say, it just depends. All right, but the most commonly used word would be understand. Because bayan is the most commonly used verb. There's another way to say I understand, which is shakal. Shakal. That also means to understand. Shakal. So you have bayan and shakal. But bayan is commonly used. Shakal is not. You're going to hear me say shakal, and you're like, what's that? And I'll be like, it means to understand. Well, I thought bayan means to understand. They both mean to understand. But of course, I'm going to use bayan, right, all the time. Now, of course, think about it this way as well. Even though they both mean to understand, I'm going to get to the next word, all right? So let's say bayan means to understand and sakal, all right? Sakal means to understand, right? They both mean the same thing. Now, necessarily doesn't mean that person doesn't know that word. Maybe that word is commonly used over here than over there. Like for instance, let's say I'm from Norfolk, Virginia. All right, let's say I'm from Norfolk, Virginia. All right, and then someone's from Chesapeake, Virginia. All right. Well, in Norfolk we always use bayan. In Chesapeake they always use shakal. Some cases it can be like that. We use different words based off where we're from. We're still speaking the same language, but they would say it this way and then we would say it another. But we're saying the same thing. Like we say I feel you, someone else may say I get you. Then does that make sense? I say I feel you, but someone else says I get you. We're saying the same thing, which is using different words. Right? There's another, I don't know any other slang instead of I feel you because I come from up north, but I think there's another, like somewhere down in Texas, like in the South, they use something different than I feel you, but I forgot what it was. There's slang everywhere, but it means the same thing. All right, let's get another word. I just can't get it right today, huh? So lucky. There we go. All right. Now we have on the board, which is bana. All right, bana. Bana meaning to build. This is your ba. This is your na. This is your ha in the paleo. This is your ba. This is your real choppy right here. This is your na. This is your ha in the Assyrian, which is bana. Bana, meaning to build something. So bana. So if you wanted to say you want to build something, B-U-I-L-D, build, is bana. 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 Bana, meaning to build. Bana, to build. Alright, bana meaning to build. So if you want to say, I want to build something, or I built this, or whatever the case may be, you would use the word bana. Bana, meaning to build. Bana. Alright, bana meaning to build. Bana. Bana. Alright, bana meaning to build. Bana. Alright, bana. Alright, bana. Alright, let's get the next verb on the board. So bana meaning to build. Bana. Alright, bana meaning to build something. You want to build a family. Bana mashapaka meaning to build a family. Alright, I want to build a family. You would use the word bana. Alright, you would say, alright, I want, which is Tazza rock. Tazza rock. Anya Tazza rock. Bana mashapaka. Anya Tazza rock. Bana mashapaka. I want to build a family. Alright, Anya Tazza rock. Bana mashapaka. Alright. You guys do not have to memorize that, okay? If you guys can memorize it, that's good, so lock it. I was just saying that, what I was just doing, I want you guys to do as well. That's just an example of how to practice building sentences, or practice how to memorize these words on the board. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I was just saying it, right? Whatever I say in my mind, I also just say it out loud to help me get used to hearing these words, right? And getting used to saying these words to make them sound more fluent, all right? All right, that's how I do it. So what I was saying was, I want to build a family. And of course, I use the word bana. But of course, that's a whole sentence saying, I want to build a family. All right, I want to build a family. So I said, Anya Tazawara la bana mashabaka, which would just mean I want to build a family. All right. You guys don't have to remember Anya Tazawara la bana mashabaka. You guys don't have to remember that. But we will get there. Come to these classes and we will be able to say what I just said fluently, as if you've been speaking this language for years. All right, you will get there. You will easily be able to say, Anya Tazawara la bana mashabaka. All right, let's get it. The next word we're going to get is bakwash. Okay, so what we have on the board now, all right, is bakwash. All right, bakwash. Bakwash. This bakwash. This is your ba. This is your kwa. This is your sha. This is your ba. This is your kwa. And this is your sha, but in the Syrian. When you put it together, it's bakwash. Bakwash meaning to search out. So if you were searching out for something, or you wanted to tell someone to search out for anything, you would use the word bakwash, meaning to search out. All right? To search out. To search out. All right? This is more so a verb used in a military sense, but you can also use it in the regular context of just searching something out. Like search out here, or search out over there. I need you to search over here. That would be, all right, bakwash. All right. All right. I want you to search out. Rataza. All right. I want you to search out. Rataza bakwash. I never rataza bakwash. That bakwash meaning to search out. All right. Bakwash, to search out. Rataza meaning to want. The verb I used last time, tazarak. Tazarak. The verb I used last time was tazawarak, or tazarak meaning need. Alright? Something a need or a want. And there's another way to say want or need, which is rataza. Alright? Rataza meaning to want or desire something. Want. Rataza. Alright? So when I just said that sentence, Anya wa wataza bakwash, I was saying I want to search out. Alright? If I wanted to say I want you to search out, I would just say Anya Watazaka Bakwash. I want you to search out. Alright? Alright? I want you to search out. Right? Search out. Bakwash meaning to search out. Alright? So we're going to stop here. Alright? For the time, we're going to stop here. Alright? So remember these words. Alright? You can rewatch this video. Alright? And remember these words and put it into your notes. This language is very, very important to read and to listen to and to understand and how to say it. Very important. Do not take it lightly. This is a part of our culture. This is a part of our heritage. This is a part of the traditions that the Lord passed down to us. This is part of building this nation up, to have a language of our own. Every nation of people has a language of their own to speak, but we don't. We are speaking languages that was given, all right? Like for an example, we are speaking languages that were forced on us to listen to. Why? Because of the simple fact that we were oppressed and in slavery. But before then, we spoke this language. All right, this was the language that we spoke. All right, and this is our language. So what's the meaning of bakwashia? Bakwashia. All right, bakwashia. It depends on the. All right, if you want the PDF, make sure you put it into the put your email into the live chat. All right, or send me your email. Either or, send me your email. All right, or put it into the live chat, and we'll get it to you. All right, so you said the meaning of bakwash, bakwashia. So bakwash meaning to search out. Now it depends. I believe we have a brother in the school. His name is Bakwashia. Alright, Bakwashya. Bakwashya. Alright, Bakwashya. Alright, so it's different. Not Bakwashya, but Bakwashya. Right, that's a little different. Alright, depending on how it's used. So if you're asking me what Bakwashya means, that means something different. Alright. Right, but Bakwashya, alright, Bakwashya, to answer your question, Bakwashya is meaning, this is, okay, it can literally mean my search, right, this is my search, Bakwashya, that ya at the end of Bakwash means my or me, alright, my or me, okay, my or me, because this is a verb, alright, because it's a verb, you would Bakwash ya, that ya at the end of Bakwash would mean me. So search out me. Alright, to search out me. But Bakwash ya, alright, Bakwash ya is not a ya, it's a Y-A-H. It's letting you know that this is the search of the Lord. That's the actual name, Bakwash ya, Bakwashya, which means this is the search of the Lord. Alright. Did I answer your question, brother? Did I answer your question, brother? Just making sure. Alright. Most High in Christ. Okay, Anya Bayan. Most High in Christ. Most High in Christ. Alright. Bawayan God. Water. No sweat up. And I Bayan. Okay, I understand. Most High in Christ. Okay, Most High in Christ. Okay, so with that, Israel, alright, that's the class. Make sure you guys study these words and write these down in your notes. And whoever sent y'all, if y'all send me y'all emails or put in the email to the live chat, I will send you the 100 most common verb document so you guys can practice as well on your own time. Alright, and as well as learn how to say it and speak it as well and hear it. So with that, men of Israel, we're going to give a praise salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, I Magid, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua Bakathon, Yadi Matah, Sa'ala Akwakin. Turn to the sisters. Men of Israel, we're going to give a praise salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, I Magid, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Alathan Ba'ashim Yahushua, Yadi Matah. With that, class dismissed.